Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this video is going to be basically a sad goodbye to what I think was one of the best goalie brands there was in manufacturers, especially in terms of recent years for price, for quality, and everything. But unfortunately, if you didn't know already, JRZ, or JRZ as Americans call it, is no more in terms of making goalie gear. They still make bags. They make a lot of bags actually for hockey and baseball, and they're also doing steel for hockey skates. But unfortunately, JRZ for the goalie manufacturer is shutting down production and not doing any more gear. So as of the press release, which I'll kind of show here, and if you haven't been following me on Instagram or followed them on Facebook and everything, you might not know about that, but according to that, they aren't making any more gear going forward, and what they have is what they have, and that's it. So if you were on the fence of getting some JRZ gear, check out their website, because they do have some of the older like Prime stuff in stock, and it's solid, really quality equipment. So check it out if you want to grab it, if you're hesitating because you might not be able to find it in the future. Now, before we jump into this and talk about what we have right here, which were kind of the last pieces and kind of all about them, if you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment in Canada and US, check out the links in the description. In Canada to Hockey Supremacy, and the US to Pure Hockey. Clicking those links, making a purchase gives me a kickback so I can make more videos and doing more reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel and you're not buying gear, check out Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. Everything through those links always comes back into the channel. I gotta buy a lot of gear to do reviews on, and that is really expensive, so it'd be greatly appreciated. So a quick overview of JRZ before we go into kind of what happened or like where they're going. They've been an equipment manufacturer for quite a while. I believe they kind of became more famous in the NHL and stuff when they were making iTech stuff. So like the Prodigy, the RX-9 lines, all stuff like that. The top end ones and the stuff made for the NHL were made by JRZ, and you could find their little logos on like where it was made and stuff on the inside, and it would say made in Canada or made in Quebec. Eventually iTech got bought out, as a lot of competing hockey companies do, and then Bauer bought them. So what happened then? Actually, not really much. They kept making that iTech branded gear with just Bauer logos, and then they kept making Bauer gear after that. So the Supreme 100s and stuff like that, all that was made by JRZ. Eventually around the 1S line, Bauer went overseas for their Thailand manufacturing, where they currently exist now. But because of production issues and stuff like that, some gear was made in Canada. And I think at the time, the 1S stuff was made in Canada for NHL. It's all over the place. Regardless, some of the Bauer gear, like this 1X, which came after the 1S, was made by JRZ in Canada. And you could see it by looking for this little logo here. And that was their factory logo. So it was always kind of a thing when this line of gear was out, and well, I guess I should say when any of the newest line of Bauer stuff, so like the 1S, this, you were kind of looking for the Canadian made stuff, because that was made by JRZ, and it kind of meant it might have been pro stock. It was all over the place, like I said, because of Bauer's manufacturing issues. This is one of my favorite gloves. I use it all the time. It's a very old glove, same with my 1S, and I keep using them, so it says something about it. But that little JRZ logo in there was kind of a little hint at the quality of the gear and the manufacturing behind it. So once Bauer kind of split partnerships with JRZ was free to do their own thing, and I'm not exactly sure how that partnership split, whether the design and stuff went all away from JRZ, or I'm not sure about all that. I'm not going to talk about that because I didn't ask, to be honest. What I am going to talk about here now is what happened to JRZ afterwards. As well as making the Bauer goalie equipment, they also make player bags, like a bunch of hockey bags for everything, as well as MLB and other professional sports. So they make a ton of stuff like that. They always did their own thing as like an aside. Then once the Bauer agreement or whatever was in place, JRZ was able to make their own line of gear. And they started out with two lines. One was the Prime, which was basically the Reactor 9000s with their own logos and kind of slightly updated. And the other was the Fusion, which was these. I did reviews on the set of gear, and I was so impressed by it, I ended up going out and buying this slightly infamous eggplant and teal retro pot van set that I've featured in a bunch of videos, and I've used over the multiple years now. It's a pretty old set. It's actually the oldest set I have, probably 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And I love this set. I loved quality of it. Was fantastic. The craftsmanship and stuff of it was really good. And because I was so impressed by their demo set that I got to try on and the gear, I went out and bought it, and I want to support them. And when this glove was out and the Fusion line was out, one of the big things I always asked for, and a bunch of other people asked for, was different glove breaks. So they had this glove break, and that was basically the only one they were really offering. The Fusion was a 1-piece cuff. The Prime had a 2-piece cuff split right here. One of the things I asked for right away was, can you make old Supreme glove you did, or the old Reactor glove you did back in the day? And the answer was no, even though they had some on their website that looked like that old version. When I tried to get info on it, I couldn't order it, so it was kind of disappointing. But people had the feedback of, hey, we want to use different break angles. So JRZ listened. The company went a new direction with the logo, as you can see, and then they went a new direction with gloves too. So they still had that previous glove, which is a 60-degree 590 style break, but then they offered these two as well for a little bit for the Fusion 2 line, as you can see right there. But alas, this was very short-lived. It never really got a full launch on their website with the customizer. You could see it, and if you asked for it, you could do it. So there are some Fusion 2 sets out there, but it wasn't really an easy thing to find, and it was kind of a hint at what was to come, unfortunately. This glove right here is the 55-degree break, and you're going to be seeing a lot of gameplay videos with this glove specifically. I've talked in the past where I have issues with wrist and tendonitis, so I have to wear a wrist brace. This glove is the best glove kind of shape and just connection points in order for me to use that wrist brace in here. So I've been using quite a lot of this glove, and so you're going to see it a lot in my videos. All this puck marks is all me. This is a demo glove. This is also a demo glove. You can see the difference in usage between these. So this one, you're going to see a lot of footage of it, but not necessarily a ton of content in terms of other people and things like that, because you can't really get them anymore, unfortunately. This glove is a glove that kind of sweeping around the internet, specifically the break angle. This is a 90-degree 590 break, and that's kind of the glove shape there. It's kind of interesting, and when you close it, you can definitely see that famous T closure right there. And this glove had a ton of people asking for it. I actually saw a bunch of people send videos of their closure of this glove before it was even announced by JRZ, and before it was really out there. It was kind of just like a hint thing, and I've been trying to get these demo gloves for like over a year. Finally I got them, and then like a month and a bit after I got them, JRZ said we're ceasing goalie operation. So that's kind of disappointing, but these are kind of the last two pieces that they came out with, besides the pads obviously, and they were pretty awesome, and I'm a huge fan of them. So even though these gloves really aren't ever going to be able to be purchased and you can't really do anything about them, I think it would be kind of interesting to do a video, kind of document them a little bit as well. So we'll talk about this one first. This is obviously a 55, but really it's like a 55-75 degree break. Feels very similar to like a Supreme glove, a Bauer Supreme glove, and I'm a huge fan of this glove. This is one of my favorite break angles. Catching with this glove is like, there's some games where I have which are really bad. Generally it's really good, and it feels really natural and comfortable to me, so I'm a huge fan of it. When we look at the back, this design is pretty similar to what we had in the past, but some cool interesting features where you can see it has a piece of spandex right there on this connection point, so it can flex out more. Like when you close like that, it will flex out to give a little bit better closure ability on there. But everything back here is all the same as what is on the previous one, and you still had that amazing and wonderful black kind of, not digital, but sure grip material on here. But everything in here is very similar to what the old gloves were, and they still had this little magnetic piece that comes down here and is stretchy, so when you close, it kind of flexes with it and allows for good solid coverage everywhere on here. So it was a really nice design, and I was a huge fan of this. And the next glove we're going to talk about is this 590/90 degree break, as you can see right here. And the interesting thing about this glove, well, I guess some reason online people just jump to 580s all the time. I'm gonna blame social accounts who keep pushing this glove, but it's a very famous closure, as you can see, and people love this feeling and glove and everything. This doesn't look like a normal 580. Right here we have this 100% clone of a CCM/Lefebvre 580. So this was like an older one, but total clone, and you put these next to each other and they really don't look like the super similar glove. This one looks pretty different in terms of just the pocket size and the fingers and everything, and it doesn't, and even the cuff is not totally a one-to-one. So it wasn't a direct clone, which some companies like this have done in the past. And the closure on this though is very much like, that's obviously your 580, and this one obviously same thing. The interesting thing I find about this glove is this glove people also say is a 580. I don't feel that at all. It's a Warrior 6.1, but the glove shape looks basically identical on these two. Very similar in terms of overall glove shape to me. The problem is the closure on this just doesn't close like a 580 does, where this one definitely felt like that 580 closure that I kind of feels awkward, but it felt like that and it did its job. And honestly, the sad part about JRZ going away is this was another option for this 90 degree that felt really good in your hands. And I think they've made awesome changes to this with how big this pocket is, and just like the worrying about this sizing and not this sizing as much as some other companies do. So it's really disappointing that you won't be able to buy this if you are looking for that 90-degree break, because while there isn't a ton of options, more companies are doing them, but this was and would have been a very good option for those people. So from what I could tell and from what I have found, the reason JRZ doesn't do goalie equipment anymore is simply because the profit margins on goalie equipment isn't big enough, and it just takes too much time to build out goalie gear for how much it costs and for how much they sell compared to bags, steel, and everything like that. So they're focusing all their manufacturing capabilities onto bags, and that's what their bread and butter basically is now. So they make a ton of bags, like I mentioned, for all sports teams. So they're gonna keep putting all their efforts into that to make sure that they can kind of succeed as a company there. And from what I understand, they're doing very well, and they need more manpower. From what I understand, they're doing really well, and they needed more manufacturing ability and capabilities. So they had to take all the people that were making this goalie gear and designing the goalie gear and put it all into their other lines and products. So it's very disappointing, but I understand it from a business standpoint. Now, the exciting part for me is I loved this glove so much that the second I heard about them not making goalie equipment anymore, and I was in talks with them before that announcement happened, is I wanted to do a custom version of this glove for myself. Like I mentioned, this glove works really well for my wrist brace, and I used to use that Bauer ultrasonic I had. I sold that set, so I don't have a glove that really works really great with my wrist brace anymore. This one works perfect. So I was talking to him about doing a custom glove and everything, and once that happened, I'm like, well, is this still a possibility? I would really like to order that glove. I'll buy it right now if I have to. Let me know. And luckily, everything for that has gone through, and I am waiting on my custom one, which I'll do a video on and talk about and everything like that, and some custom options on it, because I did do some different things than what is stock on here, just like for padding. But this is a very dear glove to me. I love this break angle. I've been using this break angle for a long time. It just feels very natural to me. Sad that this isn't another option as well, because this would have been a really easy recommendation for a bunch of companies, is to go down this route. Unfortunately, JRZ is going a different direction. So while it is a really sad thing that they are going to be no longer, I did want to kind of highlight some of the awesome work that they did right before they're kind of shutting their manufacturing of goalie gear, which is very, very sad. Again, I'm a huge fan of this gear. I always recommend it, especially for the price point in Canada. I know the US with the exchange, it got weird, but for Canada, these were a steal for the cost that they were compared to competition. Very sad day in terms of losing a smaller manufacturer, and just a manufacturer in general. Pretty excellent quality goalie gear. Let's highlight some of their accomplishments, and I will keep using their gloves, especially with that blocker and that new glove that I ordered going down the line. So excited for that, but at the same time, obviously sad. So I wish JRZ and all the people there the best of luck in future endeavors. I hope they come back in the goalie industry, but I understand why they wouldn't. And hopefully their business is very successful and they all become happy and can retire very happily by making this decision and helping them out in that sense. So that's about it for this video. Very sad day, obviously. It was announced before, but I figured I'd call it out here too if you don't follow that stuff. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you got a chance to try this gear before it didn't exist anymore. Hopefully you watched my videos and that helped you. So thank you very much for watching this video. Again, hopefully it was helpful. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Links are in the description. If you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, if you're in Canada, check out the link in the description to Hockey Supremacy. If you're in the US, check out Pure Hockey. Clicking those links, making a purchase, gives me a kickback, helps our channel so I can make content and doing more videos. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel and you don't want to buy anything, check out Patreon, buy me a coffee. Everything through those links always comes back into the channel so I can make more content and doing more reviews. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.